At 3:17 Coordinated Earth time, the skies went quiet. Satellites above Earth stopped sending signals. Global communication stuttered, then dropped completely. Space stations orbiting the planet began to experience power disruptions. The few functioning deep space radars picked up strange anomalies, massive objects moving fast but leaving no energy trail. Commander Alaravos stood in the dim operations room of the Planetary Defense Network. Screens flickered, lights blinked red, and a cold hush fell over the control center. "Status report," she said calmly, her voice slicing through the tension like a knife. Her team scrambled for answers. Lieutenant Soren, a sharp-eyed officer barely past 20, pointed at a distorted screen. "We've lost contact with all high-altitude satellites. Something is jamming them. Or hiding them." Alara's eyes narrowed. She already suspected the truth. Only one force in known space had this kind of stealth tech, the Drav Imperium. A moment later, the room's main screen lit up. The image was grainy, but unmistakable. Massive alien ships, dark and silent, hung in orbit like shadows against the Earth. Each ship was the size of a city. There were at least 20, maybe more. They weren't moving. They were watching. The command center fell completely silent. Then a voice broke through. Low, slow, and full of menace. "People of Earth. This is High Warlord Nasker of the Drav Imperium. You are surrounded. Surrender, or be erased." The voice echoed through every channel still open, military, civilian, even private networks. Earth's leaders, scattered across underground bunkers and high-security facilities, began calling emergency meetings. Panic spread across cities and countries like fire. Alara didn't panic. Instead, she walked toward the main control board and tapped a sequence of commands. The system responded with a soft chime. Hidden defense satellites, long shut down after the last war, were powering up. She looked at her officers. "Don't wait for permission. Begin silent activation of all Phase 3 protocols. And keep our signal black. We don't let them know what we're doing." Lieutenant Soren hesitated. "But the Council hasn't." "I don't care what the Council says," Alara replied sharply. "They'll freeze like they always do. We don't have time to debate." She turned toward the window. Far above, tiny blinking lights began to appear, reflections from the invading fleet's hulls. Earth was surrounded. But she wasn't going to let it in that easily. Alara tapped her earpiece. "LY-Nex, come online." A smooth, artificial voice answered in her ear. "Online, Commander. Give me every record we have on Drav fleet behavior. I want simulations. Patterns. Weaknesses. Understood. Processing now." She exhaled slowly. They had no idea how much Earth had hidden since the resource wars. Orbital platforms buried under the seas. Experimental defense drones parked on the dark side of the moon. An entire fleet, built in secret, orbiting just beyond Mars. Alara had trained for this moment all her life. As a child, she watched her parents die when the Drav first attacked during the border conflicts. As a cadet, she studied their tactics, learned their language, and wrote the first defense protocols Earth still used. Now, she was the only person on the planet who truly understood what the Drav were capable of. And more importantly, what they feared. "They think we'll bend," she said quietly. Soren looked up. "Will we?" "No," Alara said. "They think they've surrounded us. But they haven't seen what we're hiding." Above the Earth, the Drav fleet held position. A ring of steel and death. But far beyond that ring, in places the Drav didn't know to look. Earth's secret allies were listening. And waiting. Alara smiled. The Earth Council met in a secured underground complex beneath the North Atlantic. Thick concrete walls and electromagnetic shielding protected it from most threats, except fear. Holograms of world leaders filled the long oval chamber. Faces appeared tense, pale, flickering with static. The air was thick with uncertainty. "They have us surrounded," said Chancellor Moira of New Europa. "We can't win this." General Zhang, representing the Eastern Defense Coalition, banged his fist on the table. "We don't even know what they want yet. This may be a show of strength, not an attack." President Karim of the African Union shook his head. "They already destroyed our lunar station." That was their message. At the far end of the chamber, Commander Alaravos stood with arms crossed. She had spoken once and been ignored. So now she listened. She studied them. Most of them were career politicians. They had never seen war. Never seen a ship burn in orbit. Never had to bury their families after a raid. They didn't understand. "They're testing us," Alara said finally, breaking the silence. "They're waiting to see if we collapse before they even fire a second shot." Moira frowned. "What do you propose, Commander? A direct attack?" Suicide. Alara stepped forward. I propose we act. Quietly. Now. She pressed a button on her wrist pad. A tactical map appeared in the air, showing the position of the Drav fleet around Earth. They're positioned for maximum visibility, not for combat. That tells me they want us to see them. They want fear. We can use that. Use fear? Someone asked. No, Alara replied. Use their overconfidence. While they posture, we prepare. There was silence. She continued. I've already activated Phase 3 orbital defenses. Quietly. We have armed satellites in low Earth orbit, deep-sea launch stations, and long-range missile platforms hidden in Antarctica and under the Pacific. We also have unmanned stealth drones positioned behind the moon. You acted without approval? Kareem asked. I acted because you wouldn't, Alara said firmly. And if we wait any longer, there won't be anything left to approve. No one argued. The council adjourned, fractured and uncertain. Some feared she was right. Others feared she was moving too fast. But none of them had a better plan. Back in her command center, Alara watched the Drav ships. They had not moved since their arrival. No direct attacks, no further communication. Just presence. A silent threat. LY her AI assistant, reported from her console. Commander, the Drav fleet continues to maintain position. However, they have launched several unmanned probes toward the equator. Data suggests they are mapping strategic targets. Cities? Alara asked. Population centers, energy hubs, and military bunkers. Their focus is Earth's infrastructure. Classic invasion pattern, she muttered. They want a fast collapse. Hit the spine first, let the body fall on its own. Alara turned to Lieutenant Soren, who had been working quietly at a secondary terminal. Any luck with those intercepted transmissions, she asked. Yes, he said. We cracked part of the signal. It's encrypted, but it's not meant for us. What do you mean? It's not addressed to Earth. It's a message being sent away from Earth. Alara leaned forward. Where? We're tracking it. Based on the signal's frequency, it's being broadcast deep into the Kuiper Belt. That's beyond Neptune. Coordinates. Still calculating. But here's the strange part. It's repeating the same message. He played the audio. The voice was Drav, but the translation came through the speakers. Holding position. Awaiting confirmation. Presence detected. Alara's mind raced. Who were they talking to? Why were they waiting? They're not here for war, she whispered. They're here for something else. Or someone else. The thought chilled her. What if Earth wasn't the final target? What if it was bait? Later that night, Alara stood alone on the observation deck. From here, she could see the sky, not the stars, but the dark outlines of the Drav ships blocking them. Huge metal shadows, cold and patient. She remembered her father's voice. He had once told her, you can tell a predator by how still it waits. The more still, the more dangerous. The Drav were waiting. But so was she. LY she said quietly, run simulations. If the Drav fleet receives reinforcements, what are our chances of survival? Probability of planetary survival drops below 10% if additional Drav warships arrive within 72 hours. All right, she said, staring out into the dark. We stopped them before that. The sun rose over Earth, but its warmth felt distant. In space, just beyond the reach of sunlight, the Drav fleet remained motionless, like statues in orbit, watching, waiting. Their massive hulls cast long shadows across Earth's skies, blocking satellites and disrupting signals. People below could not see the ships, but they felt the pressure. A planet holding its breath. Inside the Planetary Defense Command, Alara Voss sat with her eyes fixed on a stream of encrypted data flowing across the main screen. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago. She hadn't slept in nearly 2 days. LY her artificial intelligence assistant, monitored thousands of inputs at once, fleet movements, weather conditions, radio interference, and intercepted alien signals. LY she said, what have we learned from the Drav transmissions? Their communications are heavily encrypted, the AI replied. But patterns are repeating. The same message is being broadcast every 11 minutes, directed far beyond Earth's orbit. To where? Signal trajectory points toward a region beyond the Kuiper Belt. Unknown destination. Likely a fixed relay point or listening post. Alara's thoughts turned cold. The Drav weren't just talking to each other. They were calling out to something else. Something even further away. Play the decoded message again, she said. The AI's voice read the translation aloud. Holding position. Earth response limited. Secondary presence detected. Awaiting confirmation. Secondary presence. LY Could they have detected another species? Not human, not draft. Unknown. However, energy spikes have been recorded in the outer solar system within the last 48 hours. Origin and nature, unidentified. Alara felt her stomach tighten. The Drav weren't leading this operation. They were scouts. And they weren't alone. Later that morning, Alara met privately with Lieutenant Soren in a secure observation chamber. It was a small room with a large reinforced window, offering a clear view of the stars. But the stars were still gone, hidden behind the gray silhouettes of Drav ships. Soren spoke quietly, his voice edged with concern. "Commander, I found something else in the data logs." "What is it?" "There's a pattern in their positioning. At first, I thought it was random, but the ships are forming a grid. Each ship sits at a precise orbital coordinate, perfect spacing, equidistant from each other. It's not a blockade." "Then what is it?" "A scanner array. They're not just surrounding Earth. They're scanning through it." Alara's eyes narrowed. "They're looking for something." "Yes. And if I had to guess, it's not a weapon or military base. It's biological." Alara stood in silence. Biological signatures, life. Maybe they weren't just watching Earth. Maybe they were searching for a specific person or species or signal. A life form that shouldn't exist here. "Run a cross-reference," she ordered. "Any known anomalies, classified or not. I want every odd radiation spike, energy distortion, or unexplained signal from the last year." "Yes, ma'am." That night, Alara reviewed old defense reports, searching for answers the others had missed. In one report from a deep space mining station near Jupiter's orbit, a strange object had passed by the facility 3 months earlier. No one could identify it. No communication. No trail. It simply appeared, then vanished. The miners had called it a ghost. Another report from a Martian weather satellite showed unusual gravitational disturbances beyond Pluto, small ripples in space-time. The data had been archived and ignored. Until now. Alara stared at the maps. She drew a line between the ghost near Jupiter, the disturbances near Pluto, and the signal the Drav were sending into deep space. They all connected. They were tracking it, she whispered. But it came here first. Just after midnight, a coded message came through Earth's security network. One of Alara's agents, embedded in the Earth Council, reported suspicious activity. A council member had accessed restricted files and encrypted them with off-world keys. Then, moments later, a signal was transmitted toward the Drav fleet. "A leak," Alara said grimly. "We have a traitor." She slammed her palm on the console and pulled up security footage. A blurred figure in formal council robes. The face was hidden by privacy masks, but the encryption tag confirmed it. Someone on the council had betrayed Earth. They were feeding the Drav information. What was in the files? She asked LYNX. Blueprints of orbital defenses, satellite positioning, and partial details of Phase 3 weapon systems. Alara clenched her fists. They know we're arming. They know we're not standing still. The next morning, the Drav fleet shifted slightly. For the first time in days, the ships moved. Not toward Earth, but inward. Tighter formation. Defensive posture. Soren looked confused. Why would they change their formation? "We haven't attacked yet." Alara looked up from the data stream. "Because they're scared," she said. "Not of us. Of whoever else is coming. They think Earth is bait." Alara nodded. "And we might be. But now they've taken the hook. Earth was not alone anymore. Not in space. And maybe, not even in its own system. Something else had arrived long before the Drav, and the Drav were trying to find it before anyone else did." Alara leaned over the command console and whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. "We've been surrounded. But they don't realize we're not the ones being hunted." The skies above Earth were no longer empty. They were tense, heavy, as if the atmosphere itself was waiting for something. The Drav fleet, once perfectly still, had shifted. Their ships pulled closer together, taking up defensive positions. It was the first sign of fear. Commander Alara Voss watched from her command center, standing before a wide screen that displayed the alien formation like pieces on a warboard. She had seen many fleets in her career, some human, some not, but never had she seen a force this large hesitate. "They're bracing for something," said Lieutenant Soren, standing beside her. "They think something is coming," Alara replied. And they might be right. The intercepted transmissions still played in repeating cycles. The same message sent far into deep space. The Drav were calling for confirmation. They were waiting for a signal, perhaps even orders. But whatever they were waiting for hadn't arrived yet. That gave Alara time. And she didn't plan to waste it. "LY next," she said, Begin contact with our off-world allies. Secure lines only. The AI responded instantly. Martian colonies on standby. Asteroid fleet near Jupiter confirms readiness. Outer defense rings are warming up weapons systems. Earth had spent decades pretending to be weak, but it had never truly disarmed. Not after the resource wars. Not after the border conflicts. The public believed in peace, but the military had always prepared for a second invasion. Alera's secret network, built quietly over the years, was waking up. Hidden railgun stations buried under the Antarctic ice. Long-range missile silos beneath the ocean floor. Drone fleets hidden on the dark side of the moon. And most importantly, a forgotten fleet of retrofitted mining ships stationed near Mars, fitted with old weapons and experimental tech. The time had come to use them. A private message arrived from Captain Ryan, the leader of the Martian militia fleet. Earth finally calling in the favor, he joked. Not a favor, Alera replied. A fight. He smiled. About time. Alera sent encrypted coordinates and attack vectors. The plan was simple. Surround the Drav as they had surrounded Earth. Make them feel boxed in. Cut their signals. Blind their sensors. Then, if necessary, strike first. Back on Earth, the Council was in chaos. Alera's secret activation of Phase 3 defense systems had been exposed. The leak had caused panic. Accusations flew across the Council chamber. You overstepped your authority, shouted Chancellor Mora. You've put Earth in direct conflict. I prevented Earth from being taken in its sleep, Alera shot back. You want to wait for them to fire first? That's not leadership. That's surrender. President Kareem raised a hand. We've confirmed the Drav have been sending signals into deep space. They're not here for full conquest. Not yet. They're searching for something. Alera nodded. And if we don't control the battlefield now, we won't get another chance. Reluctantly, the Council voted to give her temporary control of Earth's defense strategy. It was not a vote of confidence. It was a vote of fear. But that was all she needed. The final stages of the plan began. Earth's orbital defense grid activated fully for the first time in 2 decades. Power surged through buried cables and ancient conduits. Defense satellites repositioned themselves with precision. Drone swarms launched from secret hangars. A second, hidden fleet began its silent journey from behind Mars. Alera stood before the main screen as the positions lit up. LY next, she said. Status of the draft fleet? Still maintaining tight formation. No signs they'd detected our buildup. And the unknown force? Still no response. No ships visible. But the draft signals are growing more frequent and urgent. They're getting nervous. Then came the breakthrough. At 2:42 coordinated time, an unknown signal entered Earth's system, silent, cold, and massive. It was not from the draft. It was not from Earth. It didn't speak. It didn't answer hails. It simply appeared, drifting like a ghost. A single black object. Long, thin, shaped like a blade. No engines. No lights. And yet, every system that scanned it shut down. Alera watched in silence. What is that? Soren whispered. I don't know, she said. But the Drav are afraid of it. On the screen, the Drav fleet broke formation. Their ships spread apart, scanning in every direction. They weren't preparing for battle. They were preparing for retreat. That's when Alera made her decision. Send the signal, she said. Begin the surround. Within minutes, Earth's hidden fleets moved into place. The Martian ships approached from the far side of the system, using solar gravity to slingshot forward. Drone units swarmed from behind the moon. Underwater launch platforms revealed themselves near key coastal zones. The Drav, still focused on the black object, didn't react in time. They were surrounded. Earth had reversed the siege. The hunter had become the hunted. Alera opened a secure channel to the Drav flagship. This is Commander Alera Voss. You are surrounded. We will not fire unless you give us a reason. Stand down. Tell us who you're calling. There was no response at first. Then, High Warlord Nasker's voice came through. Low, controlled, and no longer arrogant. You don't know what you've done. Then tell me, Alera said. Silence. Then. It's not us you need to stop. It's what's coming next. The object drifted through space, silent and slow, like it had no need for speed, only purpose. It moved with precision, heading straight into the solar system without responding to any signal, warning, or threat. Earth's telescopes tried to scan it. Every system failed. Instruments overheated. Energy readings spiked, then vanished. Commander Alera Voss stood at the heart of Earth's defense command, watching the data collapse in real time. LY next, she said calmly. Any visual confirmation? The AI replied, "Object is approximately 30 kilometers long. No visible propulsion. Surface is non-reflective. Scans return no internal structure. It's like a blade," Lieutenant Soren added, staring at the screen. "But hollow. And it's not slowing down." "It's not a ship," Alara muttered. "It's a signal in motion." The Drav fleet reacted first. Their formation broke apart completely. Warlord Nasker's ships turned, shields powered up, weapons armed. Their silence was gone. They were moving fast, shifting to defensive patterns that looked like panic. Alara opened a secure channel again. "This is Commander Alara Voss." "Hi, Warlord Nasker," respond immediately. "What is that object?" His voice returned within seconds, tense, sharp, lacking its former pride. "It is not meant for Earth. We followed it here. We tried to get ahead of it. But now, we are all in its path. Is it a weapon? It is something older. Something buried in our past. We call it the Witness. It observes. And then, it decides." Suddenly, the object stopped. No deceleration. No drift. One moment it moved, then it didn't. It simply hung in space between Earth and the Moon, facing no one, saying nothing. But its presence filled the solar system like thunder before a storm. Then came the light. A single beam, thin as a thread, reached out from the object. It touched one of the Drav ships. The ship didn't explode. It simply stopped working. The engines failed. Shields dropped. Its lights went dark. Frozen. Soren gasped. That wasn't an attack. It was a test. Alara narrowed her eyes. A warning. Earth's hidden fleets were now in full position. Martian warships flanked the Drav from behind. Drone swarms hovered silently, ready to strike. Orbital platforms had locked weapons on the Drav command ship, but Alara hadn't given the order to fire. Instead, she did something unexpected. She opened a public channel. One the Drav could hear. One Earth could hear. "Warlord Nasker, we don't have to fight each other. We're not enemies anymore. Not if we're both standing in front of something we don't understand." For several long seconds, there was no reply. Then the Drav fleet turned, slowly, cautiously, away from Earth, away from the object. They began to aim their weapons toward the Witness. "Commander," Ly next warned, "if both sides engage that object, we risk triggering an unknown response." "I know," Alara said, "but doing nothing may be worse." She turned to Soren. "Send all units an update. Do not fire unless fired upon. Prepare electronic countermeasures, EMP nets, gravitational pulse shields, everything we've got." Soren nodded and began issuing the orders. On screen, Earth's forces and the Drav fleet now faced the same direction. United, not by alliance, but by fear. Then, without warning, the Witness moved again. It rotated slightly, just enough to aim its thin beam at Earth's outermost satellite. A simple weather station. No weapons. No shields. The beam touched it. The satellite vanished. Not destroyed. Not shattered. Just gone. Alara felt a chill run through her. "Ly next," she said. "Play back that impact." Frame by frame. The AI did. And on the final frame, before the satellite disappeared, Alara saw something strange, its structure bending inward, folding like paper. "It's rewriting matter," she whispered. "Reality doesn't apply to it." The time for choices was gone. The time for survival had begun. Alara looked at the formation around Earth, her drones, her allies, the Drav ships. All of them lined up like ants before a storm. She tapped her comms. "Nasker, I'm authorizing a joint strike. Coordinated fire. Every available ship, every system. It won't be enough, but it may slow it down." "Agreed," the Drav warlord replied. "We may not survive this, but neither will it forget us." And then, everything happened at once. The sky lit up with light and fire. Earth's defense grid roared to life. Lasers, railguns, pulse bombs, guided missiles, all aimed at one target. The Drav added their own fury, plasma lances, quantum bursts, and antimatter beams. The object was struck by everything humanity and the Drav could throw at it. For a moment, hope flickered, but then the light cleared, and the Witness still floated, untouched. No damage, no change, only silence. Then, something unexpected. It began to retreat. Slowly, but surely, the black object turned away from Earth. Its beam retracted. Its surface dimmed. Without a word, without a signal, it began moving back toward deep space. It was not defeated, but it had decided. And whatever it decided, it spared Earth. For now. As the last sparks faded, Alara leaned against her console, exhausted. LY next, she said softly. Status. All systems stable. No new signals. Draft fleet holding position. Unknown object leaving system. Soren turned to her, eyes wide. We didn't win, did we? No, Alara said. We survived. Back in orbit, the draft fleet slowly began to pull back. But not far. They lingered just beyond Earth's sensor range. Warlord Nasker sent one final message. Earth is no longer the target, but others will come. Some will not wait. Prepare your world. Alara sent a short reply. We already are. The silence after the storm was almost louder than the battle itself. For the first time in days, the skies above Earth were calm. No weapons fired. No alien voices crackled over the airwaves. The black object, the witness, had left, vanishing into the outer dark beyond Pluto. It left no radiation, no trail, only questions. Inside Earth's Defense Command, Commander Alara Voss stood alone at the main viewing window. Below her, the blue curve of the planet turned slowly. Above, what remained of the draft fleet hovered in stillness, just beyond Earth's reach. Not attacking, not leaving, just watching. Lieutenant Soren entered the room quietly. He stood beside her, carrying 2 cups of coffee. One for himself, one for her. You should sleep, he said gently. I will, Alara replied, though she didn't move. They both watched the stars, or what they could see of them. The orbital battle had sent fragments of destroyed satellites into low orbit. Pieces of metal and glass now floated among the stars like dust. It would take months to clear it all. Years, maybe. But Earth was still here. The council had met earlier that morning, their voices softer now. The fear that once ruled their decisions had turned into something else. Caution, yes, but also a quiet respect. Chancellor Mora had issued a rare apology. You acted without our approval, she told Alara. But had you not acted, we would be ashes. Alara gave no speech in return. She didn't need praise. She needed time. The world leaders agreed to give her full control over rebuilding planetary defense systems under direct oversight, but without delay, without debate. A new alliance was forming between nations that once distrusted each other, now bound by the understanding that they nearly lost everything, and they might not be so lucky next time. Across Earth, people began returning to normal life. Or tried to. Power grids were restored. Communication relays restarted. Schools reopened. But everything had changed. Children looked up at the stars with new questions. Scientists rechecked every telescope. Historians started rewriting the story of Earth's place in the universe. News channels called it the day Earth survived. But Alara didn't celebrate. From a secure room in the defense complex, she reviewed the final sensor data from the black object. The weaponry had done nothing. Physics itself had been around it. Time and gravity had twisted near it. It had made a choice, not out of mercy, but calculation. It had come to observe Earth. And for now, Earth had passed. But what if they failed the next test? She tapped into the draft transmission logs. Their fleet remained in orbit, silent, unmoving. High Warlord Nasker had not responded to Earth's last message. He had not left, nor had he attacked. Then, suddenly, a message arrived. Simple, direct. We will remain nearby. We will not interfere unless forced. Earth has strength, but strength must learn wisdom. Alara read the words twice. She didn't trust the draft, but she respected them now. They had faced the unknown alongside her people and had not run. Maybe that counted for something. Later, Alara visited a small memorial being built outside the defense command. It was nothing more than a circle of stones and a steel plaque for the lost lives aboard the destroyed lunar base, the unmanned satellites, and the few brave pilots who had died during Earth's rapid mobilization. She knelt quietly beside the stones, pressing her hand against the plaque. They had died not in war, but in warning. She stood and looked up at the sky again. This time, she could see stars faint, distant, but there. A new world was beginning. In her private chamber, Alara recorded a message. Not for Earth, not for the draft, for whoever might come next. This is Commander Alara Voss of Earth. To any who receive this, we are not helpless. We are not ignorant. We are not alone. We have faced the edge of extinction and turned back. If you seek peace, speak. If you seek war, understand this. Earth will not fall quietly. She ended the recording, and she sent it into deep space. That night, Earth slept under a new kind of sky. A watched sky. A known sky. But no longer a silent one. For Alara, there was no celebration. Only the calm between storms. But in that calm, something else lived now. Readiness.